Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsey. Today I'm excited to be sharing with you my third alternative project using the September 2022 paper pumpkin kit called Spooky Treats. This fun kit created 18 treat boxes. You get enough supplies to create 6 of these 3 designs. If you are interested in watching me unbox this kit or create these original projects, you can visit my playlist, and I will link that up here in the top right corner. And that will also include my alternative projects as I start sharing them with you. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 cards that I created using the contents of the kit. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To purchase any of the products you see me use today, please visit my online store and the link is in the description below. So the cards I'm sharing with you today really focus on using those outside patterns and templates. And just as a note, yesterday's alternative project used the inside box. Let me just share with you a little bit. So this is the inside box, and yesterday I created more treat boxes using just that inside box. And then today we're going to be using this outside wrapper for our cards. So let me just show you really quickly. Each one has a nice long strip using those colors. So we're going to begin by cutting down these strips to fit our cards, which is 5.5 inches. If I was to measure 5.5 inches from this bottom edge, then I would end up cutting this pattern right here, this web design. And so I want to move it to the score line that is to the right of that pattern, and just trim off that angled flap, and then I can flip it and measure at 5.5 inches. Okay, so you're going to get a piece like this. And then for the other two, it's a little simpler. We can just measure right on that straight edge at 5.5 inches. And we're going to do the same thing here, 5.5 inches. And then we're going to use this top piece for our card as well. So you can see that there is an angle here at the bottom, and we're just going to trim that off so that it's nice and straight. So just place the angle, the corner of that angle near your cut line and cut, and then flip it and do the same thing here. It's going to sit at about 2 7/8. Okay, so then you're going to have a nice rectangle / square shape. We'll do the same thing with our fresh freesia piece. Just removing that angle so it's nice and straight. And again, it's going to sit at about 2 5/8 is that size, 2 5/8. Okay, so we've done all of our cutting. And now we're going to talk a little bit about these score lines. So these score lines are really obvious, and if you just added your paper right to your card, you're going to probably see those. So I really wanted to mask those, and I'm using some embossing folders to mask them. This set of embossing folders is called the Stripes and Splatters embossing folder. They are 3D embossing folders so that you get this really nice deep impression. So for my fresh freesia piece, I decided to use the splatters, so that fits really nicely in that half size. I'm going to run that through my embossing machine. For the white, I decided to use the stripes. And so I wanted to stay away from my web cutout. So what I'm going to do is open up my folder and place this first score line right on the first stripe in the embossing folder. So it's going to sit like this, and I'm going to run it through my embossing machine like this. So you need the large size embossing and die cutting machine for this so that you can get the full length here. Okay, and that's just going to emboss that bottom part, and then I'm going to repeat and do the top part. So here is that fresh freesia piece, and you can see how it really masks those score lines. And then here is the white piece, okay? And again, it really does a great job of masking that. So we're going to do the exact same thing to the top. You just open it up, line up that score line with the edge of the first stripe, and then that just going to get run through just like this. Okay, so that one's all done. You can see how that adds this really fun embossing and hides those score lines. The last piece we need to emboss is our smaller square, and I'm going to emboss it with the stripes, and I want those score lines to go the same direction as the stripes, just so that it masks it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm done with that. So you really could use any embossing folders that you have for that technique. Just anything that you think goes well with this Halloween theme. Okay, let's start with our ghost. There's a couple fun things about this card that I'd like to share with you on how I created it. So the first thing is the stamping. So on the back of my card base, I have stamped my ghost image. But you can see that it's a solid image. So I got that by taking my stamp and flipping it over so that the back side is going to receive the ink. So it's nice and solid. And I am using fresh freesia ink, and I'm going to do a 2 generation for this image. So if you've never heard of that, that just means I'm going to stamp once, and then I'm going to stamp a second time to get 2 generations. So first generation, second generation. One little tip when you're stamping like this is that first stamp needs to be a full stamp. So you can't stamp off of your cardstock for that first stamp, or you're going to get some different variations of color. So just keep that in mind. So for example, this one, I can't restamp because I have ink at the bottom. So I have to stamp off, and then I can stamp on again. So I'm going to put this one, I think, going that direction. Maybe another one right there. Just keep in mind that you are going to cover up this left center area. Okay, so you don't really need to stamp there in the middle. Just to add some fun shapes in the background, but we don't want it to be too busy, which is why we kept with a large shape and kept the color monochromatic. All right, moving on to the next part, we're going to take our web and we're going to use some of the orange from, I think this was alternative number 1. I had some of the orange box template left over, and this is going to fit perfectly behind my web right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and just trim this bottom part just because I don't really need to waste that cardstock by placing it behind another piece. So I'm just going to cut that off at just a little bit less than an inch right on the score line. And then while I'm at it, I'm also going to pull in some black cardstock. And again, this is from some leftover pieces from the box template. And I'm going to, I think I'm just going to trim off the flap on both sides. And then I'm going to cut, we'll do, I think it's a 1/2 inch let me look at the card again. Yeah, about a 1/2 inch or so of cardstock there. And this is just scrap pieces of black cardstock for our strips. Okay, so coming back to this one, just make sure that piece is going to cover the opening behind your web, and then you can get some adhesive. I'm going to use some liquid adhesive here along the outside edge, and then adhere this piece to the back. Just like that. And then I can add more adhesive and place that on my card base. And I'm going to place it so there's about 1/4 inch on the left side. Once that's in place, you can open it up. Use your bone folder to smooth out the glue. All right, so that's looking really cute. Now we can just decorate this with some of our stamps and die cut images. I'm going to begin with that black piece. Place that down. I have this piece here left over from some other alternative projects. And you can pop it up with dimensionals if you want, which is what I did for my first one. But I think for my second, I'm just going to add these strips straight onto my card base. I do want it to come off a little bit. It really can be any type of design. So stagger them, or you can have them be straight on, and it can look different each time. Okay, so I'm also got my little ghost die cut. I'm going to add that with some dimensionals. And just add that cute little ghost right here in the corner. And then we can stamp our greeting. I'm going to stamp it in the Orchid Oasis, which is the color that came in the kit. And I have some scrap paper. This is from this piece. Remember, we cut this tab off. And I'm just going to line it up at the bottom edge, and then take my paper trimmer and I can cut it off just really close. So I have a nice skinny strip, and you can trim it down as well if you want. And then that's going to get popped up with dimensionals as well. So you can use the little minis. I love quick and easy cards like these. And that can go right over your ghost. And if that's pulling up a little bit and you want to bring it down, just add a little bit of adhesive if you want that to stick. It might need a minute to dry to stick all the way down. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to add to this card really makes it super fun. It's all these cute little bats. Now the bats, they are a stamp from the stamp set that comes with the kit. And I've stamped them in Memento black ink and then fussy cut them out and added them to some glue dots. These glue dots are, you can buy these online. So they're not the glue dots that came in the kit, but they're just make it really easy to add these tiny little elements to your card. And I've placed them just going from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. It's just a really fun little touch. Okay, so that card is all done. Let's go ahead and work on the next one. So this card is just as simple. I've started with a card base of basic black, and I'm going to add my embossed fresh freesia piece in the exact same place, which is about 1/4 of an inch from the left fold. Make sure everything's lined up on your grid paper if you're using that to help line things up. Then you're going to take the pattern, the plaid pattern, and add that to the front in about the same place as the spider web was. So about 1 inch from the top. Now you can see, if you look closely, the score lines, and I have them running horizontal instead of vertical. For my greeting, I'm going to stamp it on my black and white scallop circle, and I do want to use black just to pull in that nice strong color from the card base. And I'm going to do Trick or Treat, and then pop that up with some dimensionals. All right, so I've got that there, dimensionals on the back, and that's going to go right in the center. And then I am starting to run out of these cute little ghosts. So these are the stamped image that comes in the kit. So I have cleaned off my stamp and I flipped it over so that I now have the right side out. And I'm going to show you how I created these, because these look just like the die cuts that came in the kit. So you're just going to ink it up in fresh freesia, flip it over, and before you stamp it, you're going to take your basic black marker and color over the eyes and the mouth. And then this piece of cardstock that I'm stamping on is leftover piece, again from number 1. So it's just one of the white box templates. And then you can clean it really quick before you do a second one. Super easy. So ink, color, and then stamp. And then you just need to fussy cut them out. And I did fussy cut them out right inside that fresh freesia line, so there's not a bubble around it. And then add these to your card with dimensionals on the back. And I just love to add these at some interesting angles just to make it feel like they're kind of floating around my card. Just super cute. The last little thing we're going to add are some stars. We still have a ton of these, so you can add as many as you want. I'm going to place 2 in the top right corner and 2 in the bottom. Maybe add another one in the top right. Let's do a small one kind of down in the plaid. There we go. And that card is all done. So for our last card, we are going to use some thick basic white cardstock, and we're going to add our plaid piece down first, same placement, 1/4 of an inch from the left. Use your grid paper to make sure everything's lined up nice and straight. Then you're going to take your fresh freesia piece and add that same placement, or about 1 inch from the top and right in the center. And I do want those lines to go horizontal. So then I just grabbed some of the pieces, the die cut pieces from the kit. I've got the bats, the crushed curry, and my little label. And I'm just going to add the pattern pieces down with a little adhesive. I'm going to flip that over. This one's going to come off just slightly. And then I've got the crushed curry that is going to stay on, but just come near the bottom. Just like that. Then I've got my greeting, and I'm going to use Enjoy This Spooky Treat with the Orchid Oasis. And stamp that right in the center. And that's going to get popped up with dimensionals. And that can go right in between those two colors. Maybe something like this. Now we've left some space on the left side of our greeting to add our spider with dimensionals as well. So that's just going to drop in right there. And then we also have our spider web with dimensionals, and that can go right on top in the top left corner. So we're going to get something that looks like this. And then of course, add some of these great black stars. I'm going to place a large one at the bottom and two small ones inside my fresh freesia rectangle. And that card is all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these fun alternative cards using the September 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit. If you would like to subscribe to get your own paper pumpkin, please use the link in the description below. If you would like to see written instructions or close-up images of these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.